Rural Heritage on RFD TV is brought to you by Rural Heritage Magazine, a bi-monthly magazine featuring articles about farming and logging with draft animal power, small-scale diversified family farming and homesteading, and other aspects of our rich rural heritage. Rural Heritage Magazine, borrowing from yesterday to do the work of today. For subscription information, please call 319-362-3027 or order online at www.ruralheritage.com. We can all get stressed from daily life in our modern, fast-paced world. One way to get relief from that stress is to take a step back to a simpler time when life moved a little more slowly. Wayne and Holmes counties in eastern Ohio can provide that respite from the modern world. Driving down wooded country roads, visitors are treated to views of lovely, well-kept Amish farms, horses working in the fields, and assorted businesses and shops selling locally made goods and crafts. These businesses include plenty of small, family-operated stores selling specific wares such as quilts, pottery, furniture, brooms, and more. There are also plenty of shops selling harness, collars, carriages, and horse-drawn farming equipment. One of the nation's biggest manufacturers of horse-drawn farm equipment is located just north of the border separating Wayne and Holmes counties. Pioneer Equipment was established in the 1970s and now keeps over 40 employees busy building a variety of plows, harrows, cultivators, wagons, forecarts, sleds, PTO carts, and much more. In addition, they also offer accessories and parts including eveners, yokes, running gears, wheels, and rims. It's a kind of one-stop shop for the horse-drawn farmer and will have most of us drooling like a kid in a candy store. About 6 miles west of Pioneer Equipment is another store that serves as a destination in itself for anyone wishing to live a simpler, more self-sufficient, and satisfying life. Lehman's in Kidron, Ohio. Lehman's began in 1955 when Jay Lehman sought to provide goods to local Amish in his hardware store, goods that allowed his customers to maintain their independent, self-sufficient, off-grid lifestyle. Today the store is operated by the next generation of Lehmans, Jay's son Galen and daughter Glenda, who spent a day guiding us through the store. Hi Glenda, why don't you tell me a little bit about how your father started the business? What was his motivation for getting the business started?
Sure. Lehman's opened in 1955. Dad was the only employee, and his goal was to help the Amish, who you know live without electricity, maintain their way of life. He reasoned that if they didn't have the products like butter churns and apple peelers, then they wouldn't be able to maintain that way of life. The difference for him was that he kept doing what he was doing in the 50s through the 60s, 70s, 80s, and now we're selling many of those same practical off-grid products that he was selling in 1955.
And so the store then grew beyond his imaginations, beyond his expectations?
It did. Dad is a businessman, and he would say there's 2 factors to that, luck and timing. I would say smarts is also involved in there, but he said he had good timing, which meant he was willing to take a risk, and he also had good luck. The business really expanded in the early 1970s with the energy crisis, the oil embargo. People were concerned about their traditional way of heating their homes would vanish, and many of the other folks in our area who were selling wood heating stoves had disbanded that because it was old-fashioned. Well, Dad did just the opposite. He went all in so that he could serve his Amish customers. Then, when there was a reluctance to depend on traditional fossil fuels to heat, people wanted wood heating, and they came to Dad. So he always served customers in the immediate local area, Kidron, Apple Creek, Downton. Now he was getting customers from Pittsburgh, which is 2 hours away, Columbus, West Virginia, and he realized that he was onto something because the more the small businesses, sad as it was, went out of business, the more important it became for him to carry those products that the big boxes weren't interested in.
And did the complexion of the retail operation gradually shift from being strictly retail to now including a lot more direct marketing or direct sales?
It did. You know, for many years we were a store with a catalog. Now we're a direct business, which means we ship all over the world, and it's not just the catalog, of course, it's the website. When you have to mail a catalog, it's expensive because you have to send it to them and find the right people. When you're online, they can come to you, which was very important to us because as we moved from a place that had all the stuff to live off-grid, help yourself. People knew what they were getting, our Amish farmers and our homesteaders, but as the generations shifted, there were people who needed help. They knew they wanted to live a simpler life, but they didn't know what they needed. So we moved from being the place where everything you need is right here, help yourself, to how can we help you? What simple solutions can we provide to you to make your life better, whether that's eating healthy, spending time with your children, whatever the factors are, we want to help.
You've got a wide range of different kinds of products that fill a wide variety of different needs, and we're going to spend some time walking through the store and looking at all of them. Right now we're in the wood-burning cook stove and the gas-powered refrigerators.
Yes, these are gas refrigerators. They don't look that fancy, but if you don't have refrigeration, dairy products, meat products, even some medicine. And so this is something that our Amish customers use a lot, and also a lot of people who have a backup one at home, as I did growing up in case the power goes out. You put all your perishables in that. Often people that have second homes. You can put one in an RV, you can put one on a boat. Life without refrigeration is very different than life with refrigeration.
It would be a good solution for someone that had a cabin.
And often cabins are places where there is no electrical grid, there is no septic. So here at Lehman's, we have everything you need for heat, food, light, water. So you can bring some of those simple creature comforts to a home without relying on the traditional electric grid or a septic system.
Okay, well let's walk around and look a little bit at some of these products.
Hi, I'm Joe Mishka of Rural Heritage Magazine. I'm on location of one of the many events we cover that celebrates our rural heritage. If you enjoy our show, check out our magazine, where you'll learn more about the people that blend the past with what works today. You can save almost 20% off the newsstand price by subscribing at ruralheritage.com or chat with us at 877-647-2452. That's toll-free, 877-647-2452.
The main characteristic we look for in product is what it does and how it's made. So the simpler, the better on both fronts. As I mentioned, what we stand for is a simpler life. So if a product is sustainable, think of a wood-burning stove or an axe. If it's understandable, think of the push mower. And if it's satisfying, it helps you do something that you enjoy, and perhaps it's comforting too, that it brings the family together. We also care deeply about the vendors that make our products. We like vendors that are Amish, that are USA made, that are handcrafted. By the way, interesting story, we have handcrafted mugs that are all just a little bit different because they're made by hand. We got a call from a woman who wanted to return hers because they weren't all exactly the same. We explained that they were handcrafted, and she said, "Oh, I'm not familiar with that term." So everything she purchased was mass produced. One of our favorite things to do is find a product that is becoming extinct, in other words, nobody wants to make it anymore, and take over production of that. The apple peeler would be an example of that. If we can find something that is really going out of fashion and bring it back in fashion, we can secure a patent, and then we become the only place in the world where you can get that product. It's not only a way of life becomes extinct, like baking from scratch, it's the products you need to maintain that way of life that can become extinct. And then there's the knowledge piece too. We want to make sure that people know how and why to feed themselves and their children. We offer a lifetime satisfaction guarantee. We would not sell you something that we would not want to use ourselves, and we want to make sure that you're happy with it forever. We want it to be a relationship between our customers and ourselves, not a one-time. You know, honestly, Amazon is the biggest and the fastest and the cheapest. Fine, they can have that. We want to be the most helpful, and we want to provide simple solutions. We specialize in wood heating and wood cook stoves. This is a wood heating stove. It is designed to heat your entire home. Some of them you can cook on, but you never cook in it. That's where the firebox is. So this is a wood heating stove. We also have wood cooking stoves. This is a wood cooking stove. You cook in it as well as on it. The fire is here. You see there are no knobs, so it's hotter here than it is here. This is a lid lifter, so if you need to move these to maintenance or for a spill, so there is a real art to cooking on wood. Some of them have a really nice warming shelf and a water reservoir. So you are baking your dinner, you put the pie and the bread up here to keep it warm, and then you're heating water for grandma's tea or so grandpa can shave. Absolutely no electricity, solely powered by wood. Now, if you like the look of that, so if you like the look of the wood cook stove, but it's somewhat laborious to cook on wood, you can get one of these, which has the facade of a wood cook stove, but is thoroughly modern. So perhaps you have a bed and breakfast, you have a historical home, and you want something that maintains that look, but you aren't prepared to heat with wood. This is a viable option. A wood-burning fireplace is lovely. However, they tend to be pretty inefficient because basically what you're doing is heating that area and shooting it up the chimney. So a fireplace insert is a really nice idea. Perhaps you purchase an old home and want to maintain the integrity of the fireplace but don't want to heat with wood because the open fireplace is efficient. A fireplace insert is a great solution. We have a lot of experts on staff. Buying a wood heating or cooking stove takes a little bit of an interview process. You know, how much time do you have? Is it your primary heat or your secondary heat? For example, we heated with wood for years, but it was secondary heat. We had a traditional furnace, we just didn't use it. Are you going to cook on it? Are you going to heat with it? Do you have access to firewood? Do you have a place to store firewood? How do you feel about schlepping and chopping firewood? And we have talked some people out of it. People that are new to processing food don't always realize that if you grow it or buy it in bulk, say bushels of peaches, you are going to have to chop it, bake it, freeze it, cook it, dehydrate it, eat it, do something with it. And this room has everything that you need to do that. I talked to a customer several years ago, and she wanted to make her grandmother's tomato recipe, and it called for 100 tomatoes, so she planted 100 tomato plants. She did not know that every tomato plant would produce multiple tomatoes, but years later, what she has done with that is intentionally grown lots of tomato plants. She makes her own salsa and gives it as Christmas gifts. So every Christmas she can say, "I made this for you." Now that's a great DIY gift. We want to be the one-stop shop for people that want to process their food, whether that's growing their food or processing meat. Meat canning has become very popular recently. And when I think about it, I think back to 200 years ago, people cared about the 3 E's. The environment, because all their money was in their land, the economy, because it was a cash-poor society, and what they were eating. Because back in the day, if you didn't grow it, harvest it, and preserve it, you starved to death in the winter. I mean, think of Little House on the Prairie. So you bring those 3 E's forward. Again, we care about the environment, being good to the earth. We care about the economy. We want to be fiscally responsible, and we care about what we eat. So it's a little ironic to me that in 2017, we're teaching the skills of 1817 to a different audience using the same products and processes. This is the Lehman cider press. It actually is an exclusive design that we created with the metal basket, which is more sanitary than wood. We often make cider here on our property. We have a buggy full of apples, and then we make the cider, and the number one question is, what is the recipe? And the answer is apples, just apples. Now the recipe would be, what secret blend do you have? Do you want it tart? Do you want it sweet? And the second most often question we get is, what do you do with the pulp? The peels and the seeds? We pose that question to our customers. Most of them feed it to their livestock, their chickens and their pigs. You can make jam, you can make bread, you can consume every last bit of that apple if you're kind of creative. This is the Lehman's apple peeler. The design has not changed since the late 1800s. The company that was making it wanted to go out of business, and my dad loved the product so much, he basically bought the company, and now we manufacture it. The Lehman's logo is on the head here, so if you see a new one, it's going to have our Lehman's logo on it. We're the only place that you can get it. Stick an apple on there, give it a crank, and the peeling comes right off. So basically you've got the grain coming through between these two burrs, and it is tightening it up. And what you end up with is fresh, wholesome flour, perfect for baking. And because it's done in a non-commercial, slow processed way, all of the nutrients are still in there. There are different grinders. Some grind very coarse for like chicken feed if you have field corn. Some grind very fine like the Diamond for baking. So it depends what the end result is, like with any product. But this would be the most versatile, value-based grain mill, and it was designed by my brother, Galen. We are now in the personal care room, which is the soaps and lotions and medicines that are made with natural ingredients. Goat's milk is a very popular ingredient for soap because it contains so much natural emollient. It is very good for your skin and very moisturizing. Honey, beeswax, these are all great elements. I mean, if you think about it, 200 years ago, Grandma cleaned her floors and washed her hair and brushed her teeth, and she didn't do it with 40 different products you might find in a big box store. Aladdin lamps have always been very core to our brand because of the mantle. It's not a wick, it's the mantle. They shed a very bright light. So when the Aladdin lamps came out in the early 1900s, it gave people an opportunity to work inside before the sun came up and after the sun went down. Prior to that, you got up when it was light and you went to bed when it was light. We were very fortunate a couple years ago to be able to purchase the Aladdin Lamp Company. Its parent company had grown much larger and the lamps were not that important to them. However, they were very important to us. We are also the home of the only Aladdin Museum of Light, and because of the company's rich history, we were so happy to be able to partner with them.
So the new mantles have a blue coating on. This is to protect it during shipping. So you need to burn it off. Just hold it by the frame and set it on. Give it a slight twist. And then you light it to burn that off. So as soon as it's burned off, then you put your chimney on. Now every time you want to light the lamp, you have this off and you just light the wick. It has a round wick, so it needs to burn the whole way around. And then you put this back on there, and immediately you want the flame to go down that you just have a blue circle. You don't want any orange showing. And now it has to preheat for 10 or 15 minutes like that, and the hotter it gets down here, the brighter it'll glow. So I'm going to turn it up a bit so you can get an idea how bright they get. But since it didn't preheat, it's going to have flame there and it gets black spots. But if you turn it down, then that disappears.
Nowadays, we go from room to room to room and leave the lights on. Well, back then, you were all in one room and you didn't really walk around with an Aladdin lamp. So you were in the one room and then you blew it out, and then you went into the other room, the bedroom or whatever, and then you blew it out. So it was just a much more intentional way of lighting your home. Do you know what this is?
Well, it's a railroad light. It's a brakeman's light. No?
Well, you're a good guess. My dad kind of invented this. It is an Amish tail light. Black buggy, black road, black night, very hard to see. This glows, and so you'll see a buggy going along with two of these on the back.
Terrific.
So it's an Amish tail light.
Okay.
All right, Joe, any idea what this is? Obviously, it's a candle. You can see it rest on this little post here, and I can crank it
and I
up
can lift it up.
or down. It has a very specific purpose. It has to do with a young couple on a Friday night.
Oh, okay. That's why it's called a courting candle.
Yes,
okay,
a courting candle. So what would
sends
happen?
the man home.
Exactly. A young man would come to call. Dad would determine how well he liked the young man and set the date. When the candle burns down to here, it extinguishes. Now, Dad could come back in, say, "Hey, Joe, you've got some potential," and crank it up. Conversely, Dad could come in and not like what is going on, and the date and the candle are both extinguished immediately. Makes a great wedding present. I have one of these at home, and I love it. Basically, it anchors to the wall, and then you can pull it out and hang your clothes on, maybe your shirts that you don't want dried all the way, and then when you're done, you push it back. So it's kind of an indoor drying rack, but it's attached to the wall, so it's a real space saver.
It gives you a shelf.
Yeah, and there's a shelf up there too. I know it looks like a plunger, but actually it turns you into a human agitator. You become the agitator in a bucket of soapy water, and you can wash your clothes. You can wring them out by hand or use a hand wringer and then put them on the clothesline to dry, thereby using a couple gallons of water and no electricity to wash and dry your clothes. Each one of these baskets are hand weaved by a local Amish couple. She actually rides her bicycle in to pick up her purchase order, and they're all signed and dated on the bottom. So one of my favorite things to do, like say your wedding anniversary with 2015, I would fill this with your favorite items and give it to you, and then it appears it was made on the day that you were married. Beautiful, handcrafted, one-of-a-kind baskets made by the local Amish. Back in the day, you didn't throw things away. If you had old rags, you made dish rags, you made a quilt, you made a rug, and these are actually made locally by volunteers for Mennonite Central Committee, which is a fundraising organization, and they're old blue jeans, and they hand weave them together. So I know my dad has taken some of his blue jeans up there. They may be in one of these rugs. They're recycled, they're upcycled, and they're super sturdy. You can just throw them in the washing machine or even give them a good shake and hose them down, and they're ready to go. Denim recycled rag rugs. And each one is a little bit different. Some of them, I will say, are lost tools because people just don't do that anymore. I mean, if it wasn't for the Amish community, I suppose blacksmithing, making horseshoes might be a lost skill, but we just added a line of blacksmithing tools. It's not just the products that become extinct, it's the knowledge, the way of life of knowing how to quilt, how to farm, how to preserve, how to harvest. Dad would say two things. One, I like old stuff, and two, I like to know how to fix stuff. Like with our push mower, if it's not working, you're not walking. Doesn't get any simpler than that. We just had a big case knife event here for collectors. Case knives is a big deal. We were the only stop in Ohio, and we have our own case knife, and then we do sell a lot of case and other high-end knives. Back in the day, I suppose it's still true, but every young man or older man had a pocket knife in his pocket. So we gave one to my son for his 13th birthday, which is common in our family. Of course, we had to make sure he never took it to school, never took it on a plane, that sort of thing. But having a pocket knife in your pocket was something that most men, and I'm sure some women, always had. We have over 70 kinds of root beer here. We've found that root beer, because of its long heritage, people are passionate about. They have certain brands, certain flavors. We've actually done root beer tasting. It's a very fun, multi-generational thing to do at home where you have 10 different kinds, and then you can clean your palate with pretzels and trail bologna and baby Swiss cheese and see which person likes which one, because they do have very different flavors. And we have over 70 kinds of glass bottled root beer. Hopefully, if there is a glass bottled root beer in existence, it's on our shelves. Here at Lehman's, we are so fortunate to host visitors from lots of different states and countries. So we put this board up on the wall. It was a great idea, however, it fills up about every week. We have had people sign this board from Germany, Wales, Serbia, Canada, as well as approximately 37 different states. And I'm talking in a week. That's what we've gotten. So we are very pleased about that. I think part of that is we are the gateway to Amish country. So lots of people are fascinated by the rural, relaxing, living off the land way that the Amish people live, and so we are a stop on our way to that. I think that we also draw from the larger population areas, Columbus, Pittsburgh, Cleveland. Perhaps people are in town on business and they ask what is unique to this area, and the answer is Amish country. Holmes County, just south of us, has the largest population of Amish in the world, not Lancaster, Pennsylvania, as many people assume. It's very unspoiled. I mean, if, bucolic hills and cows in the pasture and windmills and Amish children playing outside, if you live in the concrete jungle, this is paradise.
Thanks for spending the past half hour as we spent some time in Ohio's Amish country. Join us next week as we continue our tour at Lehman's in Kidron, Ohio. This program is available for purchase. To order your copy, please call 319-362-3027 or visit www.ruralheritage.com. Rural Heritage is a bi-monthly magazine dedicated to draft animal farming and logging, as well as other aspects of our rich rural heritage. It is published by Mishka Press, which also offers a complete line of Back to the Land books, DVDs, and calendars. Call or write for a catalog or subscription information, or visit our website at www.ruralheritage.com.